Nikola Corporation recently had an IPO and it's skyrocketed in price since then. This is a little shocking considering the majority of the time investors won't make money off an IPO. Prices tend to fall after that initial offering. And this IPO was done through a reverse merger too, which almost seems to suggest they were not able to secure typical angel investors or venture capital. Not to mention the reverse mergers with Vecto IQ. What even is this company? I suppose LinkedIn says they have 2 to 10 employees, but Nikola has soared up and corrected, yet it still has a nearly $20 billion market cap. So is Nikola worth the evaluation? Is Nikola the future of electric vehicles? Well, Nikola started by showing off these hydrogen fuel cell semi-trucks. This is very ambitious as the hydrogen infrastructure of the United States and most countries is near non-existent. Looking at this map from the United States Department of Energy, we can see there really aren't any hydrogen stations in the United States or Canada. There's a couple along California's coast, one in Connecticut, and one over in Canada. I'm not even certain if these actual refueling stations are suitable for a semi-truck. But after talking about their hydrogen truck, they said they would release a battery electric truck before the hydrogen truck. And then Nikola decided to sue Tesla, saying that Tesla's truck looked too much like their truck. And that's an interesting move, as lawsuits are not cheap, and a lawsuit like this is risky when you're going against a giant company like Tesla. It's seriously strange. Their argument was that people were confusing them with Tesla, and this hurt them because Tesla was known for, and I quote, batteries starting fires and its autonomous features causing fatal accidents, and that this was having a negative effect on business for Nikola. This company has an extremely ambitious goal, but they're burning their investors' money on lawsuits. Although, to be fair, the lawsuit has proceeded forward, so maybe they could make money off this. But it's been over 2 years of legal battles now, and perhaps it's going to be many more. As for actual vehicles, Nikola has yet to sell a vehicle, but is offering pre-orders. They claim over 14,000 pre-ordered and more than $10 billion in potential revenue in 2.5 years of production. The interesting thing is, when this release came out, it didn't actually cost anything to pre-order. Anyone could click that button, and if there's no stake or anything being held, then what do those pre-order numbers really mean? If I could just go and say pre-order 5 of these semi-trucks. Now it's changed to a contact us page and form from that previous just pre-order, but that still does not inspire confidence that they were starting out with anyone just clicking a pre-order button and then claiming absurd numbers. Additionally, they announced the Nikola Badger, which is a hybrid battery and fuel cell electric vehicle. To me, that seems a little crazy since electric vehicles are already heavy. Hybrid vehicles with small batteries are very heavy. A battery fuel cell truck sounds unreasonably heavy and impractical. And supposedly it'll be able to have a 0 of 60 of 2.9 seconds being this heavy. The entire spec sheet for the truck is a little crazy. It's almost like they're anticipating that they'll make technology breakthroughs before they actually have to produce the truck. There's also a battery-only version of the truck that can be pre-ordered. And the pre-order in this case actually does cost money. It's all very strange. On top of that, they've also announced a power sports series, including a jet ski and ATV. Really, it was a huge goal to get into fuel cells, but to also claim that they'll dominate the battery market. It just strikes me as insane. Massive proven companies like Toyota are not focusing on battery vehicles and fuel cell vehicles at the same time. They picked one to work on. How is a startup company supposed to accomplish this and end up with leading technologies in radically different fields? It just doesn't seem to add up. And this company is selling products when they haven't actually created any of them yet or sold any yet. You would imagine that a startup would be focusing on one, maybe two vehicles to get their foot in the door and test their manufacturing. They have this whole plan of setting up manufacturing facilities and hydrogen station rollouts, but that's such a huge undertaking. They have not built and sold a vehicle yet, but they're saying they'll somehow manage to accomplish all of this and start generating revenue in 2021. Looking at the CEO and upcoming former CEO, there isn't a whole lot available about this guy, Trevor Milton. He was CEO of D Hybrid Systems, which was acquired and had this whole mess of legal issues and complications. And looking through, there's just not a lot of info about that company either. It's not like they have any sort of website that's up or news coming over. I understand they were acquired, but even then, there's just limited information about them, especially when they were founded in 2014 when the web and internet and having an online presence was massive. He also tried to start an e-commerce company. He said they had over 80 million visitors a month, but that they couldn't make money or find investors, so it eventually went under. And one of the weirder things about him is that he's a billionaire. And the citation for him being a billionaire is the fact that he owns equity in Nikola stock, as if he doesn't have any other assets or anything of significant worth. It's like overnight he just became a billionaire because of this IPO. This is a handy little chart that just pulls data from Yahoo Finance, but it puts some things in perspective. Ford is delivering millions of vehicles every year, and yet they're around 5 billion bigger than Nikola. Subaru is a huge company delivering vehicles every year, and they're smaller than Nikola. Suzuki, while not super popular in the United States, sells tons of vehicles in Japan, and their motorcycles are popular around the world. Just putting things together, it's shocking that this company that hasn't sold anything or hasn't even built a factory to produce commercial products is valued so high against some massive titans of the industry that have a solid record. Considering the history of Nikola and all these weird publicity stunts they've done, it all just seems like red flags to me. I'm not seeing a company of substance, and there's so little information to go off, especially when you actually try to look into the names behind Nikola. This isn't just a risky investment, in my opinion. It's a purely speculative investment. I try to give you pros and cons and a bit of my opinion, but from everything I've seen, it seems very unlikely Nikola will go anywhere. $20 billion just seems way too high from what I've seen. Again, Ford is trading for around $26 billion, and they sell millions of vehicles a year. I suppose nothing's impossible, and perhaps they'll impress us. Perhaps they will put out what they promise and dominate the market. But things just seem so sketchy. This is definitely one of the most risky electric vehicle stocks you can deal with. I don't have a crystal ball or anything, so I can never say what the future is for sure, but many of these electric vehicle companies are simply not profitable. NIO, for example, is risky, but NIO does have a lot of potential. I have a video about them discussing the main sources of risk, but NIO is actually selling vehicles. They have production. They're doing something other than making fancy web pages and promising more and more products. Granted, you can make money anywhere in the stock market. Some people made money on Enron, but I wouldn't advise anyone playing musical chairs with their money. This seems like a very risky bet for me, and there's just no substance that currently exists for the company. If you want to jump in, I would at least wait for them to release a product and have it for sale, personally.